Today I'm going down under, as it's as good a day. What's that? That's some creature. I just noticed that. You see, a car that falls out of use becomes home to other things. As I was saying, today is as good a day as any to drain the differential oil. It's going to need doing at some point, sooner rather than later, and it's morbid curiosity really that's spurred me on to do this. I want to see what exactly comes out and how much of it. It's an unknown, complete unknown at the moment. From just running the car, you know, here on the drive with the wheels up, I've not noticed any noises or anything untoward in the back axle department. It's a hypoid rear axle, so it needs hypoid oil. This particular type of axle, hypoid, whether it be on a standard Vanguard like this or a Morris, an Austin, Humber, whatever, they should be silent throughout the speed range. If they're making a howling noise, then that is a certain sign of serious wear, and by the time you can hear them, it's too late. A lot of these cars have never had their oil changed in the memory of man, even though it's meant to be done around every 6,000 miles. People, or some people I should say, just keep topping the diff up or check the oil level in the differential and leave it at that. Well, it's the additives, even though the oil might be full up in it, it's the actual additives that get depleted. And these extreme pressure additives are of vital importance because the gears in there are under a hell of a load. If you think the work they have to do and the shearing that takes place in there, that oil has to be pretty heavy duty and in good condition. I did once have a Morris Oxford Series 4, which many of you will know was the Traveller version. Series 4 Morris Oxford. Series 4 was Traveller only, and that was a ropey car bought for a winter run around, nothing more or less, and the differential was noisy on that. It was howling like a wolf, very unpleasant, and I drained what little oil was left in it, and it come out black and watery, refilled with fresh, and it was still as bad. So the damage had been done by somebody's shameful neglect. So I'll make a start on this. Methods of the experts, top tips. The drain and filler plugs can be extremely difficult to remove, and for that reason you should have in your armoury a very long breaker bar for undoing, and then a shorter one for doing them up again, tightening them up after you've drained it, because the shorter one of course is less force for tightening, and the longer one you can apply more force for undoing. The filler plug area should be thoroughly cleaned. I've already done that. I've given that a good degrease and wipe around there, just to prevent any grit, you know, small stone chippings that inevitably get flung up by the wheels and collected in these areas, just to prevent any injurious matter from falling in to the differential and quite possibly causing damage. you will see there are two square-headed plugs. These can sometimes be the same size if you're lucky, but often they are different sizes, and I've got a mixture of sizes today on this. The filler plug I've found was 9/16 AF, whilst the drain was a 1/4 width. And your sockets do need to be an excellent fit on these, because they're square, they're more easily rounded off. So that's the initial prep work done. Oh, I should also mention, before draining the differential, removing this plug, just crack this one off, make sure you can undo it, because the last thing you want is to drain all the oil out only to find that this is seized solid or damaged, and you've got a dry diff with no real way of refilling it again. According to the handbook, this axle holds 2 pints of oil, so a suitable container is required, and this was picked up at a bargain price of £1.99. It's a nice shallow depth, it does the job perfectly. Sometimes some vehicles you have to jack up to get access, or put on a lift, but this being a 1950s car, it's got an excellent high ground clearance, so after removing the spur wheel there, letting that down, that's just given me a bit more space, and I can do this quite happily with the car on the ground. So here we go. I've actually already just loosened these, as I said. I should have gloves on really, because this EP oil really does pen and ink. It's horrible stuff if you get it on yourself, but this is just about to come off now. Ideally, I would be doing this after the car's just coming from a run and the oil's nice and hot and flows more readily, but the car isn't roadworthy or road legal, so I'm going to have to do it cold. So I'm just going to do this. You know, I might have a glove actually, because using a rag is no way to do it. So yeah, I'm just gonna put a glove on. Right, that's better now. Oh, it also helps to be thin. That's actually, you know, pretty damn golden. As I said, I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary with this axle, but the fact that that is transparent and clear is very good indeed. So I'll take the drain plug away. I'll just give that a scrub in paraffin, because dirt and grit inevitably find their way into the screw threads there, so that can come away and be cleaned up. And I'm just going to take the if I can get the socket. I'm just going to loosen that filler plug a bit more. For the full lowdown on servicing a car of this age, I did do a little sort of series when I serviced my Humber Super Snipe, which, if you're interested in this sort of thing, contains far more information. Sometimes removing the filler plug allows air in, and it helps the oil to flow out a lot more readily. But that's fine. I'm just gonna go in now and I'm gonna clean this drain plug up. I'll leave that there all to drain out. I'll have a look in the tub at the contents when I come back. So yeah, that's it's pretty dirty, that, but the part that's inside the differential is clean, so I'll give that a clean up. Maybe have a cup of tea while that finishes off, and I'll be back in just a moment. You can see now, with it having been cleaned up, the taper fit of it to keep it oil tight, and also the square head, which has been slightly damaged. So yeah, there you go. It's, you know, on these cars what have a protruding plug like this, that's actually at the lowest point on the differential. I've always thought they were a bit vulnerable, really. However, I suppose that, you know, you'd have to be going down a severe rutted track with some pretty rotten boulders in to catch that. But yeah, there we go. Drain plug ready to refit. With the drain plug now back in place, I can have a look at the drainings, and yeah, not bad at all, although there does appear to be some separation or contamination. I'm not sure what would cause that, but I'm glad I drained it. So yeah, the main thing is there's no real chunks of metal, bits of crown wheel floating about in there. But yeah, that, looking at the sediment there, see, that did want changing. It could be rust, you know. It wouldn't be out of the question for the actual axle to have rusted through and become a bit thin in parts, you know, like that bloody Ford Escort I've got. The actual differential casing rusted through and had been welded. Well, this is you know, not exactly tip top, but from a quick shufty, I've not seen any damp patches on it that would indicate any perforation. Anyway, in time it'll all be being dismantled, and I'll do what I did to the Morris mine, just strip the lot, by which I mean remove the axle and wire brush it down, remove all the rust and flaking paint, and then treat it and paint it up again, because I've got my eye on long-term survival for this thing, although I've got my work cut out. So now all that remains to do is to fill it up, and for that, this is my preferred oil, Castrol Classic range, EP90, and it is a GL4, which is the important part. Brand, we all have our own preferences as regards brand, manufacturer, but as long as the specification is right, they mostly, well, for the most part, do the same job. But yes, it's got to be GL4 spec because of the metals, you see. GL5 can damage the components, I believe. So that's what I'm going to be filling it with, and I did double check in the actual workshop manual the capacity, and it turns out it's 1.5 pints, not 2, which was from another book, so that's contradictory, wrong information. So it's 1.5 pints, which equates to 0.8 litres approximately. And this coming in a litre, I'll just top it up, and yeah, just until it probably reaches the filler plug, and then there'll be approximately 200 litres left in there. That's the plan anyway. So for this particular axle, there's space enough to put a funnel in. On some other cars, many others in fact, there is no space to insert a funnel. Encountering a design like that means you have to use one of the handy squeezy bottles with a long spout on that you can just squeeze it into the casing. So they're worth saving if you get one of them. So I'll just fill it up. So with that funnel shoved in there like so, it was ready to receive a full charge of fresh oil, which has since been done, taking nearly a full tin of this. So that's had time now for the remains to soak through, so I'm just gonna carefully remove that and shove it in there just to avoid any spillage, and drain the excess back in. Now the oil level, it's, you know, it is pretty much critical on these. You don't want to overfill them because that can lead to oil leakage getting past the hub seals there, you see. I mean, they generally put the filler plug, you'll see there, it's sort of in line with the bottom of the axle tube there. That's so that any excess will just overflow. So that's it. I'm just gonna refit the filler plug now, and it's a job done. So another one ticked off the list, and we found out what was actually in the axle, so I'm happy now. I think next job will be the engine, draining that, but that's going to be involved because I want to take the sump off. So who knows when that'll be. But if you've liked this, consider subscribing, and there'll be plenty more, because there is plenty more to do, as you can see. Okay, TTFN. Just as a postscript to this, I've been draining the old oil into an empty container, and I have noticed some metal particles there. So whether that is the sign of some damage or whatever, only time will tell. I'm not particularly worried about it, but that does seem to be rather a lot. I've never seen as many of that in all the axles I've drained. We shall see.